Hi, Sarah Childress back with you. Since it's October, I wanted to use this as an opportunity to explore how horror filmmakers use narration to produce their thrills and chills. While narrative is the story, narration is how the story is told, and it usually involves first person, second person, or third person, with first person being the I perspective, second person being the you direct address, and third person involving him, her, or they. Now, horror filmmakers usually like to intermix first person and third person subjective because that's the best way to put us as viewers into the perspective and experiences of the protagonist while also cluing us in to a kind of unseen presence that's a constant threat to those protagonists. An unseen presence that can then startlingly reveal itself, and that's what produces jump scares. Okay, it'll all make sense once we get into it. Now, I'd like to begin by looking at a scene from the 2017 film It, in which Stan is stalked by a malevolent presence. Let's take a look.
Asher Bachar Banu Mikal. You're not studying, Stanley. How's it going to look? The rabbi's son can't finish his own Torah reading.
This shot right here is a great example of what I mean by third-person subjective. The composition gives us a sense of what Stan feels. Stan's position behind the railing gives visual expression to a feeling of entrapment. And even though his father is a small, somewhat blurry figure deep in the background, he still clearly dominates the composition. He's positioned at the intersection of horizontal and vertical thirds lines, if we follow the rule of thirds, the compositional principle. He's also dressed in white and placed within the center of an arcing white architectural feature. He's also high above Stan and the entrapping railing. The position, coloring, and lighting causes him to glow as if with a divine power. And this is in contrast to Stan, whose face is largely swathed in shadows. As we can see, he's side-lit, and usually side-lighting indicates internal conflict within a character. Now let's talk cinematography and editing. The shot begins with the camera position behind and off to the side of Stan, which makes it feel surveillant, as if it was witnessing an intimate moment. Then, boom, it cuts to an axis crossing position that's essentially on the other side of Stan. This is something that usually is done to disorient us, but in this instance, I feel it draws attention to the camera, and by doing so, draws attention to a seer, someone that has, or something that has the power not only to see, but to unpredictably be anywhere. Also, a seeing entity is a powerful entity, especially when we see here that Stan's eyes are downcast. So there's a sense that he is being seen, but is not seeing in return, which creates an almost predator-prey relationship. Then watch out for this next shot, which is going to jump back over the axis and be in very close proximity to Stan, perhaps almost uncomfortably close, again showing that this all-seeing, unpredictable entity can get very close to this vulnerable young person.
Take the book to my office. Obviously, you're not using it.
The camera anticipates Stan's entrance, which isn't unusual because it's motivated, but then there's a jump cut that keeps up the anytime, anywhere dynamic. Eyes still downcast and now shielded, he walks into darkness. We now have an axis crossing jump cut to a new camera position and angle. Hypothetically, this is a first-person POV shot, but it's too close and slightly too high to be from Stan's first-person perspective. Though this up-close creepy view likely expresses Stan's feelings about the painting and gives us closer access to it. The painting's canted angle also tells us in film language that something is definitely wrong here. And paying attention to its canted angle is important for this next shot. I love how the camera blocking gives Stan a halo effect. And now we know what we're seeing is from the painting's point of view. And now we've jumped to another camera position and perspective. As the camera pans to follow or perhaps anticipate Stan's movement to the bookshelf. We're again very close to Stan. This intense focus and the heretofore quiet sound design sets up an acoustic jump scare. The camera is then conventionally motivated to mirror Stan's look to see what caused the sound. Then a conventional medium close-up, reaction shot, and following shot. And here we have another horror convention, an insert shot that indicates an eerie presence. Notice too how the shot is canted, an angle associated with the painting. Though these 3 shots are conventional, sequenced in this way, they're disorienting and make the camera seem to be unpredictably anywhere. Backlighting throws Stan's face into shadow as if that darkness was coming from the painting he's approaching. Darkness that begets more darkness. Then another jump cut that puts the camera behind Stan, again in a predator-prey relationship. A return to the low-angle medium close-up, no halo this time. Then the camera repositions and pushes in to reveal the missing painted figure. Then a conventional axis-observing reaction shot as a creaking door and flute music give us auditory clues to the formerly painted figure's presence. But we shouldn't ignore the camera movement that arcs around Stan and then peers at him intensely, taking in his fright at the off-screen metal clang. Then a familiar third-person jump cut until we realize it's actually a first-person POV. Let's watch that again. We don't realize this is a first-person POV shot until the end when it cants and takes on the painting's perspective. Then we, arguably, jump to Stan's first-person POV. We see Stan's reaction, then the 2 first-person POVs in the scene.